Welcome to our session on cyberbullying and cyberparenting hosted by SapienKid. We are SapienKid, a parent research brand, and we are aiming to nurture a better tomorrow. We are bringing about a change in the world of parenting by researching and creating content for parents to raise their kids smoothly. We have created content with the aim of bringing parents and kids closer to each other. Now, since the pandemic days, the kids are spending a lot of time on their phones and in front of the computers, whether we like it or not. So, are they safe? To tell you the truth, they are not. Now, what do the parents do in that case? What should they do when the children face a lot of harassment from their classroom buddies and who have now turned into bullies? So, we shall discuss all of that and much more with our legal expert, Ms. Sanjolli K, Padhy, who has joined us from Odisha today. She is currently working in a project under UNICEF, Odisha, where she is rehabilitating children in need. She envisions a world where children will be a lot safer. Welcome, Sanjoli.
Hi, Meena. Thank you so much. And I would like to thank Sapien Kids for making me a part of something so important because we need to discuss more often about this and about the safety of our children online as our worlds and our lives are becoming more dependent on the internet. So I'm glad that I got this opportunity and I'm looking forward to have a meaningful discussion.
Thank you, Sanjali. Now, let's begin our session with our first question. What is cyberbullying according to you? And please throw us some light on the topic as to what has triggered this trend, or was it already there? Something about it.
Okay. So before we try to understand what is cyberbullying, we need to understand what bullying is. So bullying is to intimidate somebody or cause somebody harm or coerce somebody to do something which is beyond their consent. It means causing physical and psychological pain and hurt in a systematic matter against the victim. So what happens is if this all these things or one of the above things are done on a digital platform, it amounts to cyberbullying. And cyberbullying often consists of elements including racism, sexual harassment, personal insults, and trolling. So, what gives rise to these kind of trends? Definitely, today we have more accessibility to the internet. Our lives have become more dependent on the electronic devices. The COVID-19 pandemic made the education system completely dependent on the internet. So, of course, kids have more access to mobile phones, laptops, internet, and they are bound to use mobile phones more if they want to be up to date in their classes. So, I feel, these are the reasons which is giving rise to more cases of cyberbullying.
So, when does a joke or a prank take the shape of bullying or harassment?
Yes. So there are two things: who is laughing at you and who is laughing with you. And it is very important that the kids are empowered about the difference. So of course, in a peers group or in a friends group, even we do joke around to a light hearted joke or something to lighten up the environment, and that is completely okay. But if this joke amounts to cause you hurt and deep psychological pain, and it insults you, you feel humiliated, and you communicate the same to them and it still continues, you have to recognize that that is no more a joke, but that is an intentional attempt to harass you and intimidate you, which causes you psychological pain. So we need to empower our kids that they need to understand the difference between joking and bullying.
Hmm.
And how do you understand that? A joke will never make you feel bad or psychologically distressed, right? But bullying would. So we
Right,
need to draw the line there.
right. So, what happens to a child who faces cyberbullying?
Okay. So there are a lot of psychological changes, mental changes, physical changes that a child goes through if they are subjected to cyberbullying. But there are three major things, if I have to categorize, that a child faces, which is emotional, mental, and physical. you could see that the child starts losing self esteem, like a diminishing sense of self esteem, and the tendency to withdraw from those around and spend time alone. So if your child has a designated routine
Hmm.
that they follow throughout their days, and if you see that your child starts losing interest, starts withdrawing from you, from the situations, it is definitely a red flag, and it can be a marker for you to identify that they might be a victim of cyberbullying. And they stop eating, they might have headaches due to extreme stress that is happening to them due to cyberbullying. And so because they stop eating due to the stress and everything,
Hmm.
so they have changing sleeping patterns, they feel unsafe, exposed, humiliated. So I think one key factor that you can identify in children who are facing cyberbullying is withdrawing themselves from the
Hmm.
environment.
Right. So, this is actually, scary if you look at it. So, normally, kids, when they face such bullying and all, they may not open up to their parents. So, how to make them speak out without fear?
Right. I would, before going to children, I would like to talk about adults. Even when adults are having a conversation, we always want an environment of non judgment.
Hmm.
Correct.
Hmm.
Like, say you and me are talking, you would not want that I would judge you or I should judge you or you judging me.
Hmm.
So that makes us feel self conscious.
Hmm.
Correct. So, in the case of children, that is much more magnified because they do not have that maturity or that understanding of the situation that they are being put through.
Hmm.
So I think it is very important that parents make this environment of non judgment where the child feels safe about talking whatever is going through their mind.
Hmm.
And that would happen if there is a clear line of communication. You
Right.
have to build that relationship where you can communicate anything and everything with your child and vice versa, and that would lead to the child being more open about the distress he or she is going through.
Hmm.
And they wouldn't feel judged because they're already blaming themselves. Let me make this very clear. When a teenager is facing cyberbullying, they're already blaming themselves.
Right.
So the last thing we need to do is make them feel more judged or more harassed,
Hmm.
like from their family. So yeah, these are the little things that I think every parent and adult who comes across a child should keep in mind.
Yeah. So that is actually what is cyber parenting, isn't it?
Yes.
So, please shed some light on how parents can monitor their children who are currently, online and save them.
Right. So I would state one statement. It is always better to talk than to stop.
Right.
Children these days also have a sense of privacy. They want their private lives, they want minimum interference. And if you're being too nosy, they start withdrawing again.
Hmm.
And you lose the amount of involvement you have in their lives. So it is always better to talk than to stop. So again, like I mentioned before, the line of communication needs to be open. They need to trust you and feel comfortable with you regarding talking about anything and everything that happens. So that gives you a brownie point where you can be involved in their lives. Like if they're talking to some person online or any social media account, it will be easy for you to monitor them because they will talk about that with you,
Hmm.
as we do with our friends. If we are doing something new in our lives, the first thing we do is go and talk to our friends,
Hmm.
right? So if that relationship is built, then it would be much easier for parents to monitor their children. Also, what we can further do is set a screen time,
Hmm.
like the amount of time they are allowed to access
Hmm.
the internet, and what kind of data they are consuming. There are various apps like parental control apps like Google Family Link, etc., where you can actually view what kind of data your child is consuming,
Hmm.
right? Or what things they're accessing on the internet.
Right.
So that makes the entire system easier for
Hmm.
parents to check if their child is safe or not. And also I feel it's very important that parents and the children have a discussion about cyberbullying.
Right.
Like that awareness needs to be there, the information,
Hmm.
like what is cyberbullying, how do they identify it,
Hmm.
where do you draw the line between a joke and harassment. So I
Hmm.
think the first line of defense is us. Like we
Yes.
need to first identify the harassment.
Correct.
So yeah, that's there.
So now, I mean, in the future days, do we see a future where we can keep children away from computers and internet, or is that not possible at all? What do you see?
In my opinion, Meena, I feel like keeping children away from internet is completely a bad idea, because let's face it, internet gives you so much of opportunities and exposure that we couldn't imagine few years back, right? Like, you can sit in Pune, or I am in Odisha, and we are able to discuss about this. You can probably be in Bangalore and you can do a course online that is being offered by Harvard University, which might add to the CV of the child who wants to go for universities outside. Like, I feel internet is more of a boon than a bane, but of course, everything has to be monitored well if you want to make it safe, and also effective.
Right.
And I feel that is applicable on almost everything that we do in our lives. So
Hmm.
I don't think keeping your child away from the internet is a long term sustainable idea. Rather, if you are made aware about the harms and risks that are there, and if you can discuss the same with your children without judgment,
Hmm.
without fear, I think that would be a win win situation for both the child and the parent. Like, the child would get the opportunities that the internet offers
Hmm.
while also being safe, which the parent wants.
Right. So now, what are the steps a child and a parent can take when the child faces some amount of cyberbullying?
Right. Okay. So, first thing, like I also discussed earlier, that the first line of defense is you. You need to be aware if you're being bullied or not. So, what happens often that children don't recognize that they are being harassed before it's too late, before a morphed picture of yours goes viral or a rumor goes viral about you. You have to recognize the harassment. And how would that happen? If you have the communication with your parents, if you have the awareness that, this is bullying, this is harassment,
Hmm.
this is wrong, they have to be made aware about what is right and wrong.
Hmm.
I think that is the first line. Secondly, almost every social media apps that children use these days have some safety control tools
Okay.
that can be used,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And in case the child is getting bullied, I would recommend parents and children to save the evidence, because it's leaving a digital footprint
Right.
which can be used later to go to any cybercrime cell that is almost there in every district, and you can report the same, right? But the first thing is, you have to be aware. Awareness is important, and not be afraid to speak up. And that can only happen if, again, I'm stressing on this so much, talk more.
Right.
Talk more than you talk.
Right.
Yes.
So, in fact, that was my second question as to there are tools and ways that children and parents can use to safeguard themselves from cyberbullying. Now, the next thing is that are there any provisions legally that I'm
Right.
sure you must have also encountered parents asking you for some help in this regard. So, are there any legal provisions?
Right. So, again, in India, there are no explicit cyber laws, okay? But under few acts, there has been some kind of penalty for the harassment that you inflict on another person on a digital platform. Under Information Technology Law 2000, Section 66A penalizes for any person to send offensive information using a computer or any other electronic device. Okay. Now, Section 66E talks about violation of privacy. So, if any person knowingly captures, publishes any information or area of the person without their consent and under circumstances which violates the privacy of the person, it shall be punished with imprisonment which may extend up to 3 years, or with fine not exceeding 2 lakh rupees,
Okay.
or both.
Okay.
Now, again, under Section 67A, punishment for publishing or transmitting of material containing sexually explicit act, etc., in electronic form, which is basically these days morph videos,
Hmm.
morph pictures.
Hmm.
So, Section 67A penalizes it. And under Indian Penal Code 1860, sending defamatory messages through email is penalized under Section 499. And again, criminal intimidation by anonymous communication, section 507 of IPC criminalizes it. Yeah.
Right. So, to sum up your discussion today, we have to understand that a lot of communication and less of judgment is required for um, creating a better bond between a parent and a child, right?
Right. Definitely. I feel if we talk more, if we communicate, if something is bothering us, that is very important. And not only about problems. Communication is also very important regarding the information, regarding the laws, regarding the safeguards there are.
Hmm.
See, if you see a child using a social media account or internet, I think it's very important for the child and the parent to sit and talk about the safety features that there are
Hmm.
on the internet to use.
Hmm.
How do they safely browse, how to not share passwords, not share their identity with everyone, not make their private information public on social media.
Hmm.
I think these are few things that every child needs to know, and that will only happen through communication and also that feeling of non-judgment and trust.
Right.
So communication in anything, like if we don't talk about it, how would they know?
Hmm.
Right? So I think that is very important. And lastly, I would like to quote Jess Lair, who said, "Children are not things to be molded, but people to be unfolded."
Wow.
You have to unfold them to be the best version of themselves. And if something goes wrong on the internet, you just cannot, cut their internet access and probably, detain them and become harsh towards them and tell them that okay, this was your fault, because there's a lot of victim blaming in
Hmm.
these situations. Like,
Yes.
I told you so, I told you not to use the internet, I told you not to be on your phone so many times. And you have to understand that the child is already feeling so overwhelmed and fragile,
Hmm. Right.
right? So this is not going to help the situation. They would rather be more withdrawn, and they would feel even more unsafe,
Hmm.
which might lead to, circumstances where they try to inflict self harm on themselves,
Hmm.
or psychological distress, which is magnified, etc.
Okay. Right. So this brings us to the end of the session. And I would like to thank you again, Sanjoli, for taking part in this discussion and enlightening parents and children on what cyberbullying is and how we need to step up, and how we can actually take recourse and help from law also. So thank you very much for the session. And we are going to host many such webinars and discussions in the coming days. I would request you all to follow us on Instagram. I'll also request you to like this video, share it, and subscribe to our channel and get all the notifications by clicking on the bell icon. And we shall meet you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.